Walnut ink crystals are derived from walnut shells and is a very versatile, water-soluble colorant. We first learned how to use walnut ink in a workshop given here in Pittsburgh by Judy Melvin and sponsored by the Pittsburgh Calligraphy Guild. Like any other paint or ink, what you can achieve is only limited by your imagination. Take time to play around with it to see what can be achieved. Several online tutorials on the use of walnut ink are included on our original site, www.animadesigns-shop. In addition to thanking Judy Melvin for introducing this, we would also like to thank a good friend, Debbie Razonis, for offering her kitchen as the studio and her hands as the model for the online demos. If you have any questions or have other cool uses for the walnut ink crystals, please contact us. Why use the crystals instead of the pre-diluted, pre-mixed ink? The pre-mixed ink solution tends to be very light. If you use walnut ink crystals, you can mix the solution in any range of hues from a very light tea style stain to a nearly ebony black. You can also use aniline dye in primary colors of red, blue, and yellow with the walnut ink to tint it an infinite variety of colors and intensities. You can get more dramatic effects with a more concentrated solution of the crystals. The basic process for applying walnut ink to create unique backgrounds will be explained in this demonstration. Note that the walnut ink crystals should be dissolved in warm water. Make a fairly concentrated solution, which will be dark, because the process uses water to create lots of light areas. It is easier to lighten a piece after you have painted it, but more difficult to darken if you have started with a very dilute solution. Here's what you will need. Walnut ink crystals. Printmaking paper. Rives BFK was used in this example, but Arches or another type would also work well. Really absorbent watercolor paper doesn't work as well because it tends to absorb the walnut ink. What you want is paper that will allow the ink to move when water, bleach, or resist is applied. Water. A spray or squirt bottle to apply this with is also helpful to control the size of the dots that you get. Calligraphy ink or acrylic ink if you want to make a design on the paper first. This is optional, but can add to the overall effect. Now, here are the step-by-step instructions. Cream Rives BFK printmaking paper was painted with random designs and swirls with acrylic ink. This dried overnight. Using a fairly concentrated solution of walnut ink and a broad brush, paint the paper. You may note that the walnut ink pools a bit around the acrylic ink. This effect is more pronounced with calligraphy ink. Continue painting until all the paper has been covered. This is a close-up of the painted paper while it is still wet. There may be some darker areas, but this is fine. In fact, it is preferred. This is another close-up view of the wet paper. For this particular type of acrylic ink used underneath the walnut ink, it acted only as a partial resist. Some of the walnut ink can be seen on top of the acrylic ink. Now this is the fun part. With water, you can spray, drip, or squirt onto the painted paper while still wet. Here, Debbie has dipped her hand into a container of water and is spritzing the paper with the water. Note the lighter areas of water droplets. This is another view of Debbie sprinkling water on the paper using a very wet hand. This is a close-up of the paper at this stage. You can see that the water created a lot of movement in the walnut ink, creating lighter areas. We're not finished yet. There's still lots more that you can do. Taking the end of a small paintbrush, you can write, draw, or scratch marks into the still wet walnut ink. This will create marks darker than the background, which adds a nice texture to the paper. The marks that Debbie is making with the end of her paintbrush are more visible in this shot. Debbie is drawing in some symbols. Here you can see the darker lines created by drawing with the end of a small paintbrush. If you would like to create lighter lines and areas, you can paint with water to create lighter, controlled marks. You can also use bleach. This is better on dry paper. Debbie repeated the process of drawing symbols in the wet ink throughout the sheet of paper. To create even more movement of the ink after the symbols were drawn in, Debbie applied more water with a spray bottle. It was applied only to certain areas of the paper where more pattern movement was desired. This is a close-up of the not quite dry paper. You can see the original acrylic ink design that was painted, plus the other textures created by application of various water techniques to the paper. This is actually a sample of another paper that was created using bleach first as a resist and sprinkling walnut ink crystals on wet paper to get the darker, more dimensional marks that you see here. This completes the basic walnut ink tutorial. We hope that this demonstration has given you some ideas on how you can use walnut ink crystals in your arts and crafts projects. Please visit us at www.animadesigns-shop.com to obtain walnut ink crystals for your next creative project. Thank you for taking the time to view this video.